What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for ReZero Season 2. This is episode 19, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
So, literally waiting like half this quarter, we finally get the opening to this season.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good opening. I've heard the song, but I didn't really... this is the first time actually, we see the opening actually play, because, we already had, the full song out, but we still didn't have the opening.
Yeah, and of course we also heard the song during the episode previews from time to time, but we never really got to see an animated version of the song itself. But it does show us a lot of most of what we already saw, and pretty much the second half of the song of the opening does kind of spoil what's going to happen probably by the end of the season. Yeah. So it's kind of not surprising. I understand why they ended up doing it, holding it off for so long, but I guess I guess it was an okay time for them to release it, I guess, regardless if if it was going to reveal what's going to happen by the end.
Yeah. I mean, it does show some of what happens in this episode, as well as, like you said, what's going to happen later. So I think that's probably one of the main reasons why they didn't show it, I guess, just because, people would just get spoiled if they showed it at the beginning of this core.
And for those that don't know what the song is, it's called Long Shot by Mayu Mashima. Sure. So if you want to look it up, definitely look it up. It's a really good song. It's definitely good, to hear it on a repeat over and over again. But anyway, so the episode starts off where the last episode left off with Emilia, the young Emilia, seeing Pandora by the gate, and she, Emilia is just wondering what happened to Betelgeuse and Betelgeuse and Fortuna, and Pandora reveals that nothing happened to them and they're fine. But she tries to talk to Emilia to try to open the gate for her, and she can't do it without a key. So what we find out that Emilia is the one who is holding the key the entire time. It's just she's the only one that that can see it. However, Pandora cannot. So she's trying to do, trying several different ways to manipulate her to opening the gate, including trying to use this as a way to convince her so she won't hurt Fortuna and Betelgeuse. Of course, Emilia refuses because she made a promise to Fortuna that she would never open this gate. However, Pandora just keeps pushing, saying that she will have Emilia open the gate one way or another, and that's where Fortuna comes in and tries to, of course, kill her. Well, but of course, as we all know, there's no way to kill her. Every time they even try, she just
Pandora dies again, multiple times in this episode.
Yeah, we see her physically die, but she just comes back over and over again, no matter how many times.
People speculate that maybe no matter how many form of return by death, but I'm not sure, because it's return by death seems like it's a little bit different. I don't know if that's exactly what she has, but it's possible.
I mean, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible that she
because I'm thinking of if she has return by death, does she have to go through the same thing Subaru goes through, where she has to do everything up until that point over again, or does she just, because it seems like it's an immediate respawn, and it has really no effect on her at all. Every time she dies, she doesn't, her mind doesn't break, the same way Subaru's might if he had to go through that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's different in terms of how Subaru goes through with it, because every time he dies, he's the only one who can remember what happened. Yeah. While in Pandora's case, she just immediately
that's right.
Pops
yeah,
up,
they remember how they killed her. I mean, so that's different because they obviously wouldn't have any really have any memories of that if it worked the same way. So I'm not sure if that's what she has, but. Yeah,
but yeah, that's still another big mystery about Pandora.
There's a lot of mysteries about Pandora.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is really the first time we actually see Pandora, in anime. But we've been hearing a lot of stuff that happens in the light novels. But so far as from what I'm hearing, that's there's still no concrete information of who Pandora is or where she really came from.
I mean, all we know is that she's the Witch of Vanity, and she's part of the Witch Cult, and it's interesting because the other witches don't necessarily seem to be evil, but Pandora, on the other hand, seems like I would say she definitely is evil, or is at least has, is malicious to an extent. Like, is like the way she acts and like what she's doing. She definitely comes off as evil.
And we don't know like the purpose of why she's hell-bent and trying to unlocking the seal, out in the forest. But unfortunately, we don't get the answer to that question, by the end of this episode. So what happens was like, Fortuna is still trying to fight off Pandora, but, of course, it's pretty much useless since she constantly just respawns over and over and over again. So she pretty much goes up and comforts Amelia that, everything's going to be all right. And then all of a sudden, Betelgeuse shows up to try to fight off Pandora. However, he tries to attack Pandora, but it turns out that unfortunately he ended up killing Fortuna instead.
Yeah, his Juice doesn't look like he's doing too well because his eyes are all bloodshot, and it seems like he's seeing things. So he thinks he's of course killed Pandora, but it ends up being Fortuna. And
I'm pretty sure Fortuna made some kind of illusion to attack Fortuna, because if you remember, like when Fortuna was trying to attack Pandora, she turned into an illusion of Amelia, thinking that she attacked her. So
it was Pandora messing with him, like because she can make people see things. So it was probably Pandora just messing with Juice and manipulating him. So yeah, of course he kills Fortuna with one of his unseen hands.
Yeah, and unfortunately, once he realizes what he's done, he just pretty much goes down the deep end at this point.
I would say that's pretty much, I guess, more or less how he became as crazy as he is from what we see in the first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm curious how he's able to live that long. I would assume living over a century.
Maybe it has something to do with the witch's authority, or the authority of Sloth. Because I think the archbishops have all kind of are they're not necessarily human, and I think they've kind of been around for a long time, as far as I know.
Yeah. So of course, Fortuna is dying in front of Amelia, and then of course she immediately just has some regrets of not being able to protect Amelia, and thinking about her brother and her sister-in-law, which is of course Amelia's real mother. And pretty much comforting Amelia during her last moments, and then shortly afterwards, this pretty much Amelia just pretty much snaps after this. She takes her her hair clip and puts it on herself, and then she pretty much just tries to go out and kill Pandora in a similar fashion, but of course it's no use. And it gets to the point where Amelia just completely breaks down and just freezes Elior Forest.
Yeah. Of course she tries to kill Pandora multiple different times. And pretty much in her rage, she ends up freezing the entire forest over and turning everybody into ice sculptures.
Yeah, and of course, but of course, like I said, it doesn't kill Pandora. She eventually just goes up to Amelia. You can hate me whenever you want, but I will be back, to open this gate one way or another, and I'll be and I'll see you again really soon. So this is of course not the last time we'll probably get to see Pandora, but of course and pretty much that's where I guess Amelia's trial finally ends.
And we find out how Amelia's memories were erased too, because Pandora actually was the one that erased her memories.
Yeah, and of course there's also another thing I wanted to point out, that that Fortuna also called Amelia Leah, which is kind of curious. I've been wondering about this about Puck for some time now, ever since we watched the Frozen Bond, is when Amelia got out of her frozen prison, that we saw Puck crying in front of Amelia, which I'm puzzled by it. And the numerous times that Puck is called Amelia Leah, and then also seeing in this episode, and probably I think it was the last episode or the episode before that, Fortuna called Emilia Leah. So that, and not to mention like Puck also has like the the crystal ice abilities like Fortuna does. So that makes me believe that, I don't know, it's just I guess in my part, and maybe some other people thinking that Puck is a reincarnation of Fortuna in some ways.
Yeah, that's one of the popular, I guess, theories, ReZero theories, is that Puck Fortuna was reincarnated as Puck. Which I don't know, it's possible. But there are some things I feel like kind of contradict that, because I'm just like, one of the weird things is that I'm assuming Puck is a male, and because he calls himself Emilia's father too, so that's something that kind of confuses me, like if it's supposed to be her mother or if it's supposed to be Fortuna.
I mean, reincarnations don't necessarily
that's true.
Stay the same. Well, yeah, I mean, still, but yeah. So, but this does come to the end of the trial, and then of course, Emilia does have this one last conversation. Why am I having a brain fart today? Echidna, yes. Pretty much explaining that she will come back to the forest to try to restore, pretty much stop the frozen curse in Elior Forest, and then unfreeze the citizens, and then try to apologize once this is all over. But of course,
Echidna tries to instill doubt within Emilia that even if you unfroze the forest, that the poison and decay left behind by the black serpent would have killed them if they were unfrozen or something. And Emilia is like, well, that's just a theory. You don't know that for sure. So she basically is trying to be all optimistic, whereas Echidna's just trying to cut her down at every turn. Because, Echidna, we obviously know Echidna does not seem to care too much for Emilia.
Yeah, but of course, like you said, Emilia is trying to be a bit more optimistic in this, and trying to, pretty much in trying to obtain her goal to try to save her people one day. But like I said, this is where her first trial ends, and then she needs to take at least a couple more trials.
Yeah, and after she gets out of the trial, she starts to cry over her her mother's death and all that. And then we, of course, cut back to Subaru and everybody else talking to the two Ryuzus. And I thought this was actually where we were going to get the rest of Ryuzu Mayer's backstory, because in the original light novel, it plays out a little bit differently with Emilia's trial of the past. It kind of cuts in between Emilia's trial of the past and Ryuzu Mayer's backstory, and here it didn't really do that. I was actually surprised, because I thought this might be the scene where we actually get the rest of it, but instead it seems like they cut right to the Subaru and everybody else going, Otto and Garfield going to confront Roswaal. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, wait a minute, are they seriously just cut that out? Because it is kind of important for Beatrice as well, because it shows us a lot of the reason why she is the way she is now, and at least part of the reason, or maybe part of the reason, or the main reason why she's holed up in that library and has been for years. But
we sort of talked about this before we started recording. Is my guess is Ryuzu already pretty much told Subaru the entire story,
right?
During the background, and my guess is that probably by the next episode, Subaru is gonna talk to Roswaal about what Ryuzu told her, and then that's where we'll finally get the rest of the Ryuzu story.
I think they might have just rearranged this in the anime, because what Subaru says at the end of the episode seems to give us at least it seems like he gives us an indication that that's what the next episode is going to be, because he says he's learned the reason why the sanctuary is the way it is, basically. So I guess we'll get that in the next episode. But yeah, the rest of the episode basically is Subaru wants basically introduces Otto to Roswaal, and Roswaal admits he hadn't accounted for Otto in his book of prophecies. So he's a little bit taken aback by Otto, because it seems like, like I said, Otto was not someone he had accounted for, and he's also surprised. Like I don't think they've mentioned this part yet, but they probably will, I guess, in the next episode. Is that Roswaal did not expect Subaru to, for Subaru to actually bring Garfield over to his side. And that was one of the other things that, like, he, one of the things that, because Subaru had made so much progress, I guess he was counting on Roswaal just kind of giving in, because, of course, like, at the end of the episode, he asks Roswaal if he's going to give up, or if to basically just surrender.
Pretty much going back to the whole like bet that Subaru made with Roswaal at the beginning. Yeah. Well, beginning
and
of
even while reading this, I was just thinking, well, there's still the problem at the mansion to deal with, and I'm guessing that he that Subaru in his mind must believe that he's already like done everything he needed to do to liberate the sanctuary, and that might be true, but I don't know if that would be enough to get Roswaal to relinquish and to just surrender so easily, which, I mean, we can pretty much assume probably won't be the case, because Roswaal we know Roswaal is determined. He's been like planning this for however long, so he's probably not going to give in that easily. But I think the Subaru is a little bit foolish for doing this. But I mean, on one hand, I can understand why he would, but it's just like, I just don't feel like he's done enough yet to get Roswaal to actually like surrender to him. I mean, because like I said, there's still a problem at the mansion they have to deal with, but I'm guessing maybe his reasoning might have something to do with that, as maybe if he figures that, if he lets Roswaal know that he's potentially fixed the problems at the sanctuary, that he'll call off the assassins at the mansion. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. And of course, from what we see of the opening too, we already know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I guess, well, it comes down to like, Subaru being overconfident and all, but sometimes it pays off, most of the times it doesn't, so he constantly has to, go back and plan things again, but it doesn't. But from the way things are going right now, I don't think Subaru is going to end up failing at this point.
No, I mean, because too much has happened already. There's no way he's going to have to go back again.
Yeah, but overall, like I thought this was a really good episode, pretty much concluding the Emilia storyline, and hopefully we'll get we'll finally follow up with the rest of the Ryuzu storylines, because honestly, I didn't think we were gonna get the Ryuzu storyline, just because like how much time the rest of the Emilia one took. So I didn't think they were gonna explain the rest of the Ryuzu stuff in like just a few minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, her backstory is a little bit shorter, so I didn't think it would be like, I thought they would eventually get to it, but and I think they still will. But it is important that they have that in there, because like I said, it does explain some part of Beatrice's character and why she's just why she is the way she is. So I think it's definitely important that they actually have that in there. But I feel like they will. It was just weird when I saw this episode and I didn't see that come up. So I guess, I was a little bit worried when they just immediately just cut to them confronting Roswaal, and maybe I just have PTSD now from the Promised Neverland season 2, and I was just like, I seriously hope they're not trying to pull something like that here.
I think this is more of a creative decision to rearrange certain scenes that makes it, for I would say more time management use.
I mean, because this episode was also as long as the previous 2 episodes, is like almost 30 minutes.
Yeah, so I would have to disagree with the whole Promised Neverland stuff.
I'm not saying it's that bad. I'm just saying just because of I get kind of nervous when I see them cutting stuff like that, and I'm just like, oh no, what's happening?
I'm just basically pointing this out as this is more of a creative decision for time management, because I don't think they can fit in as much as they can for a certain episode. But I thought the time they used to tell their stories for Emilia was well spent, in my opinion. I think they'll do pretty well with the whole with the remaining Ryuzu storyline, probably by the next episode.
If I could guess, I'm guessing maybe the first half of the episode might just be the remainder of their Ryuzu Mayor storyline, and then probably they'll cut back to the present, and they'll have the confrontation with Roswaal, and we'll see what happens there. But I think that's probably how the next episode is going to go. I thought this is definitely a great episode. If anything, it really emphasized just how much of a threat that Pandora is. Seeing how she's able to mess with people, and how she is seemingly invincible, like she just can't die. Yeah,
and I'm curious, like, as to what will happen if Subaru would have run into Pandora. I mean, that would be like a much more interesting dynamic.
Yeah. I have to wonder if maybe she might know something more about his return by death. Because it also seems like Pandora has the ability to create and rewrite things as well. So, it's just like it almost seems like she has like godlike powers, from what I've read, and from, of course, what we've seen in the anime. So yeah, I have no idea how you're supposed to fight against something like that. And I also kind of wonder how the other witches see Pandora, because, like I said, Pandora seems like she's the only one that is possibly just malicious just for the sake of being evil. The other ones are they're not really evil. Pandora, just to me at least, comes off as being evil. So I kind of have to wonder like how she gets along with the other witches.
Yeah, and also there's also the fact that there are several different archbishops, that are still roaming around, like Regulus, and then of course I think it was the other one that took Rem's memories.
Oh yeah, Gluttony. Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and then there were, I guess not too much of a spoiler, that there were other archbishops in the past. If they do actually adapt the Ryuzu, the rest of Ryuzu's backstory, we'll actually see that in the next episode, because hers was like hundreds of years ago. So, and then there's one of the archbishops actually shows up in that, but it's not like I'm guessing it's not like a current archbishop, because it seems like it's a different one. So, yeah, we know that there were like different witches in the past, and also different archbishops in the past as well. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing how that works. Now there's like, I guess they get replaced every now and again. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
It was a good episode. Like I definitely like they finally brought in the opening song. Put together finally, and then of course the conclusion to the Emilia storyline is definitely a plus for me. And I'm definitely looking forward to what they're gonna be showing off next week, for possibly and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the remainder of the Ryuzu storyline, because they're probably gonna have to tell it one way or another, because if they don't, then what's the point?
Because it is important for why the sanctuary is there in the first place, and also, of course, like I mentioned, Beatrice is an important character, especially for this arc. But I guess that all being said, until next Wednesday, we will see you all next time.